Hi, I'm Tyson Franklin, and welcome to this week's episode of the Podiatry Legends podcast. With me today is Laura Welsh from Glasgow. Yes, all the way on the other side of the world from me. She owns two podiatry clinics, a Step Ahead Podiatry and also La Prem Clinic. So, Laura, how are you doing this morning?
Yeah, I'm good. Well, it's evening for me. We're good.
Isn't technology is amazing that you have two people, other sides of the world, and I've done podcasts where I've had people in the same room as me and you could not tell the difference. So people listen to this, are you really in Glasgow or are you sitting next to me? That'll keep them, unless they're watching the video, then they can tell you're not.
Yeah, I'm across the road.
Yeah, just across the road, really. So I want to dive straight into it. What got you into podiatry? I'm always interested how people got started in podiatry, how they were exposed to it.
I came into podiatry a bit later on in life. I started doing my nursing training straight from school. So I was maybe about 17, 18 when I started it. And I was in some vascular wards while doing my training. And it was very interesting because as a student nurse, you only get an overview of everything that's going on. You don't get any in-depth knowledge to what's going on. So there was people coming in with conditions that were affecting their upper body, but they were losing their limbs. And so it was just something that I got a bit interested in. Hated nursing, done nothing with it when I left. I worked in admin for a while in a college, which was great fun. And I worked in mental health. I worked part-time in mental health. And I loved it. It was amazing. I had some very good experiences, some terrible ones as well. But I didn't want to work two jobs forever. And from doing the nursing and being in the vascular wards, I started to do a little bit of shadowing, just with some other podiatrists that were quite known for doing good things. So I went and had a day with them and I thought, no, I want to do it. So at 26, I went back to uni for my sins, which was tough. So it was.
It would have been. So you had children then as well?
No.
Oh, right. Okay.
I've got a dog and a stepdaughter. But I had a house, and because I'd already studied before, I didn't get my first 2 years paid for me. In Scotland, we get a full degree paid for us, but because I'd already studied, I didn't get it. So I had to pay my first few years, which was fun while having a house and trying to work part-time and stuff. So yeah, it was hard.
The advantage though, and I have seen this from other people where they've got a profession beforehand, when they are, say, studying podiatry, you were still able to do nursing part-time to earn some income.
I didn't do anything.
Nothing.
Since I left uni, I've never done it. Yeah,
you ripped the Band-Aid off.
It was. I was just too young to be doing it, so I didn't have the confidence to challenge anybody or tell people to back off if they were giving you a bit of grief or anything. So I just hated it, and definitely never go back down that road.
I could not do nursing. I think they're overworked and underpaid for what they do. It's just incredible.
Yeah, they have it hard. They definitely do. But it wasn't even the nurses. The nurses were too busy to deal with the students. It was more the support staff that were interesting. So
once you started podiatry, you got into it, you started university, you were starting to learn. Right from the start, did you sort of go, I have chosen the right thing here?
No, I just enjoyed going to the pub. We went to the pub quite a bit and it was great. I had the best social life I've ever had.
I'll just interpret what you said then for anyone in America who's listening who may have heard your accent's quite strong. You went to the pub. So you went to a bar? Yes, okay. Sorry.
Several bars.
Yeah.
We done quite a bit. And
but you're Scottish.
Difficult. Yeah, that's just
normal. So it's in your blood. You have to go to the bar. Yeah.
And I got on quite well with an Irish girl, so the two of us went to the pub quite often. But no, it was difficult. It was a lot harder going to uni the second time round than doing the nursing. I don't know if it's because I was older or it was a harder course, but it was tough. Yeah, it was definitely tough. But it was probably about third year, fourth year that I started to think, right, I'm kind of getting the hang of things here and thinking, I'm quite enjoying this. I got a part-time job working in an orthotics clinic, and that was just an amazing experience to be working in there. I wasn't very good at it, but I did enjoy it.
Yeah. Oh, it's a good experience though.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was really, really good. Yeah.
I've said that to a lot of students. Wherever you're studying, if there's a lot of podiatry clinics around, do they need admin help? Do they need help making orthotics? And even though I think it's great you can get a job in a bar or a pub and serving beers, which great life as a student as well doing that. But I think for your career, if you can get a job in another podiatry clinic or footwear store, something that is going to be beneficial once you graduate, even though I'm not saying that pouring good beer is not a great skill to have upon graduation. Yep, nothing better than you poured a good beer.
Yeah, I can.
Okay, so once you got through uni, you drank a lot, you got through uni, and when you graduated, what was the plan? As soon as you graduated, were you going to work for somebody else, NHS, like a lot of graduates do in the UK?
I started probably about second, third year. I thought, oh, NHS is for me. And then in fourth year, we started to realise there wasn't any jobs for us in the NHS.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, we had a very, very small amount of classes on private practice. So we had a lady coming in and talking to us about what you could be making, how to maybe go about it. But it was one afternoon session. And from that, we all kind of started thinking, maybe this is the road that we're going to have to go down if we can't get an NHS job. But I suppose I graduated still thinking, oh, NHS, NHS, NHS. And then a private job came up and I went for it and I got it. So before the NHS jobs did, so I went straight into private practice.
So can I just ask you a question? Someone I was talking to recently said a lot of graduates, it's the universities are like putting it in their head, you must go and work for the NHS when you graduate, that private practice is not the best place to go upon grad. You don't learn as much in private practice as you will in NHS. And that surprises me that the university would have that attitude.
Yeah, it's definitely all geared for NHS. And so when you come out and go into private practice, you do not have a clue. There's no business skill. You don't get told anything business related at all when you're at uni doing your degree for podiatry, because obviously they're hoping you'll go into NHS. But even like the skill set you get, I've got a receptionist that works with me just now and she's a student and she barely gets any nail cutting experience because that's obviously not going to be her role really moving forward. And I think as a podiatrist, it's quite an important skill to have, to be getting that taken away from you because the NHS do not cut toenails anymore. So yeah, I think it could be a little bit more for private practice, even just a few more sessions. So you knew what to do when you came out of uni, because it's quite daunting and you make a lot of mistakes. And if you maybe even if you had a business module just to kind of help you, like if you were to go private, because I come from an era as well where it was all single-use instruments, so I didn't know how to work a sterilizer. So when I graduated and went into private practice, it was sterilizer, and they're like, yeah, just put your instruments in after every appointment. And I was like, could somebody show me how, please? So I'm okay now.
Now you know how to use it. That's good. It's different here in Australia. It's completely different. The universities, I would say majority of people, you go through university to work in a private practice.
Yeah.
But they still don't teach them any business skills because it's not the universities. I don't think it's their role to really teach them the business skills. The idea is to get into private practice, watch what your employer is doing, learn from that, and then eventually go and set up your own and make your own mistakes. But there's so much more information around these days, like this podcast, just so much more business information that you can dive straight into.
Yeah.
A lot more helpful.
A lot of help out there. Yeah, there's a lot of help out there once you get there. You've just got to concentrate on learning to become a podiatrist, how to do a business stuff. And
so how many years did you work for somebody else before you went, okay, I'm going to start doing my own thing?
So I could only I started working full time, but I was covering a notice period for somebody. So after 12 weeks, it went down to part-time. So I had to start pretty much right away trying to advertise for business, because I kind of missed all the NHS jobs by this point because it kind of been given to everybody. So I was working, and in my first wage, I bought the website. And then my second wage, I bought a DOMS bag and some instruments and a drill. And then my third wage, I bought something else that I thought I might needed. And I just put some ads on Facebook and I thought I'll see what happens. And so I started working in the July. The website went live in October, November. And maybe about a year and a half later, I fully left. I just started every month. It was getting busier and busier. So we ended up, I was working maybe 3 or 4 days for other clinics and then doing about 40 to 50 house appointments on my own every week. So it got
and
that's
a step ahead podiatry. So you started. So a step ahead podiatry is a home visit podiatry business.
Trust me. So I've been listening to some of your podcasts and they're saying, oh, when it's only you, it's just a employment. And I think you're definitely right, because I got another podiatrist to try and come working with me. And trying to get patients to go to her was a nightmare. They were like, oh, what about you? And I'm like, well, if it doesn't work, I'll come back and fix it, but I'm sure it will be perfectly fine. So when we opened the clinic, Leprime, I didn't want to make the same mistakes. So I kind of learned from the first time round what to do and what not to do.
So what were some of your lessons that you learned with the first clinic of what not to do?
The massive one I learned was not to look at what everybody else round about me was charging and take £1 off it. Yep. Because when I tried to put the fees up, it was absolutely horrendous. And we lost so many patients and there was a lot of tears. And so yeah, it was difficult. So that was probably the main one. And also time. I really value the little amount of time I have. So I run my clinic quite different from a step ahead. All my appointments run on an hour. At least an hour, so that there's plenty of time for the appointment, plenty of time to write my notes and tidy up before the next person comes in.
Is this the Leprime clinic or the...
Yeah, clinic. Yeah,
okay, we're not going. Don't dive ahead to the Leprime clinic yet.
Sorry.
We're going to get there. Follow the game plan.
That's fine. So that was one of the things I changed.
So talking about your fees, just anyone listening to this, I just I've never had a problem like charging what we charge. We put our fees up. Someone complains about there. Because I was told that if 10% of your patients don't complain, you're too cheap. So every week, if you don't get at least 10% of your people complain about your fees, then you're too cheap. They're expecting it to be more. Plus, I remember seeing a patient who bitched and complained about fees once, and then being out somewhere and seeing them eating a $40 steak. And I'm going, right, okay, so you don't want to pay me the extra $5, but you don't mind laying out $40 for a nice steak. And I must admit, it was a good-looking steak, but it's where people put their priorities with their money. And I think if you value what you do when it comes to your fees, then your patients will value what you will as well. I did a video just recently called Don't Be the Dodgy Builder.
Oh, I've seen that one.
Yeah. And it came about because I was talking to someone and I said, the building industry in Australia is going absolutely nuts. And I said, if you we're going to get a house built that's going to cost X amount. And another builder come and said, oh, I can do it a lot cheaper. I can do it half the price because my hourly rate, instead of being 150 an hour, is only 50. I said, what would your initial thoughts be? And they go, oh, I know they were a bit dodgy, cutting corners, cheaper materials. Just, I really wouldn't feel comfortable. And I said, well, why do you think the public and your potential patients are thinking any different to you if you're the cheapest, if you're advertising cheapest podiatrist in town? And they went, oh, never thought about that. Whereas if you're the most expensive podiatrist in town, people go, you must be good. You have to be good if you're charging that much. And I think there's levels where it can be ridiculous, but I think coming in and trying to undercut, and like you said, then trying to put your fees up, it's a little bit difficult.
Yeah, it was hard going.
So you're the one person that watched that video. That's good.
Yeah, I only went up a couple of days ago. Actually, I've seen it. So yeah, it was interesting.
Was there another lesson? Anything else you learned? A big lesson setting up that first one?
Things like just not wasting money on tools and things. There were so many things I bought with a step ahead that I never used. So I tried when setting up the new place not to buy junk or things that I might use in 10 years' time.
Yeah.
And trying to be a bit more practical. I was always quite bad for stockpiling, whereas just now I don't buy quite as much stock to sit in a cupboard and rotate. Also with the patients, the price is the price now, whereas with a step ahead I would be like, oh, I'll give you a wee discount because there's 2 of yous in the house, and oh, there's 5 of yous, right, you can have an even bigger discount. And I think I value myself a bit more now, and I realise that appointments, they take a lot of time. There's more time than just the appointment as well. You need to do all your notes, and I send out audio messages and things, so I need time to do all this. So yeah, I've learned just maybe to value myself a bit more when it comes to the clinic.
Did you ever have any did you ever have any one-legged patients ask for a half price?
Yeah. Oh my goodness, yeah.
Yeah, how funny is that? I'd say to them, I go, I assume you're spending twice the amount of time on that foot.
Yeah, I had a woman recently, she only needed 2 toenails cut, so how much would it cost? And I was like, what about the rest? And she had said, well, I can cut them, but these 2 are thick, so I need you to cut them. And I was like, well, it's the same price as everybody else. And she was like, but why is that? And I was like, well, I still have to drive to your house. I still have to use my aprons and gloves at time. I have to assess, check your pulses and etc. I have to do all the same things that I would do normally. And she was like, yeah, but why? I just don't get why you would still charge the same.
Oh, because then you've got to say, and what we do is we add on a little dumbass fee for certain patients. So what it would cost for 5 nails, when you only have 2 nails and you ask about, all of a sudden this little dumbass fee gets added onto it, and it ends up the same price. And now if you had 5 nails and you were a dumbass, it would be even more expensive. So luckily, you only have 2.
I'll try that for next time.
Try that one next time. Yeah, it won't work. It'll be a good way to cause an argument. But have that conversation in your head is always funny.
Yeah. She went elsewhere though, thankfully. So good.
Yeah, that's it. And that's always reckoned. There's if you look at your patients, A, B, C, D, and you want more A patients, you want to try and get your B patients to be more like your A. You see patients, which are usually a pain in the ass, you want them to become B patients. And if they don't, you know what? There's clinics that are set up that will cater for those type of patients. And they're the bitter, twisted podiatrists that you see that hate the world, hate everybody, cause more problems than, in the profession, but they're willing to see everybody and take all the garbage that they dish onto them is what they put out. So yeah, let them go.
Yeah, that was me when I started. I would go anywhere in Glasgow when I started. And then when COVID hit, I actually looked at figures and started working things out, and then realised that I was travelling like 20 miles somewhere when normally I'd be round about 2 miles between house appointments. Yeah. So that 20 miles is 40 miles, and I was charging maybe like £25 for it. So by the time you took your mileage off and things, I was working for pennies.
Yeah,
so
that's crazy.
I fixed those mistakes when opening the clinic.
So you obviously listen to this podcast. Have I ever told the story where I've done the home visit and the guy thought I was a plumber?
No, I've not heard that one.
Okay, well, if anyone hasn't heard it. So this was the last home visit I ever did. Okay. Family had organised it, and I said, just make sure the money's there. He knows what's going on. Yeah, all taken care of. I rock up, and we had a clinic in Mariba, so I was doing this on the way home, so I wasn't really out of my way. I rock over there, knock on the door, this old guy, yeah, come in. So I come in, and he says, who are you? I said, I'm a podiatrist. He goes, oh, you're the plumber. It's about time you got here. I said, no, I'm the podiatrist. Yeah, I know, I organised the plumber. The sink is leaking, and no, I'm the podiatrist for your feet. Yeah, sink is over there in the kitchen. And I said, so, you know what, I'm going to go and take a look at his sink. So I went over there, I put my bag, because I had my kit. He just must have thought it was a toolbox. I've gone in there, taken a look at the sink, opened it up. I went, I can see what the problem is. Tightened it up a little bit, closed it up. And I said, okay, see you later, it's all fixed. He went, thank you. I said, bye. And that was my last home visit. It was a plumbing job. Yeah. So, and I just went, it was that just enormous. And in hindsight, it could have been, if I was doing that again now, and I'm not saying to anyone listening to this, don't do home visits or don't do plumbing on the side. And I'm not even a qualified plumber. So that job was not, there was no insurance coverage on that one. But I think if families organising a home visit for someone, get them to pay in advance.
Yeah.
If the person asks questions, yeah, they've got dementia, anything else, does somebody else need to be, does a carer or someone need to be there when you turn? So there's all these things that we weren't doing a lot of home visits anyway. So I was not the best at organising all that, but it also made me stop doing them.
Yeah, I think from me working in a mental health background, I'm quite comfortable with these situations. So I'm usually quite good at making sure there's another adult present or we've negotiated what's going to happen. I would always want somebody else there if there's any signs of any incompetence or any kind of dementia, anything like that, just to keep me covered as well as the person. So
and you probably got to assume too, if you're doing a home visit, the person's elderly, and depending on their age, there's a chance there's going to be some form of memory loss or some form of mental incapacity.
Hearing.
Hearing. Oh my! I think I told you the old lady that she was deaf and she used to keep farting all the time. Did I tell you that? So I had this old lady, and she used to come into the clinic. She was 104. I remember her saying to me, she was anyway, she said, she used to always tell me, look after your eyes, look after your hearing and all that. I'm going, okay. I say, how old are you again? She's 104. I'm like, fair enough. Anyway, she used to just pass wind all the time. She'd be there to go, like that, and I go, my God. But never smelled. It was just a lot of air. There's one particular day, she's gone, my stomach was really upset. So I've done one at the same time as her. Mine was quiet. She wouldn't have heard it anyway. But then all of a sudden she's gone, oh my, I apologize. I am so embarrassed. And I'm going, it's okay. You'll be fine. It's all right. It happens all the time. And I'm cracking up laughing because I'm thinking, so you can have fun. You can have fun in your clinic. I probably just turned a lot of people off this episode. So let's move ahead to La Prem Clinic. What is the thinking behind La Prem Clinic? I went and had a look on your website, and looks a little bit different to the average website. Looks a little bit classy. I like how you've got your fees on the website as well. It very clearly explains this is what we do and this is what it costs. Don't mess with Laura. That's sort of what it shouts out to me. I would say the type of clientele that you get in that clinic is different to what may turn up in some other clinics. Yeah,
I would think so as well. I wanted to make sure it was clear when people were coming in that there was a new patient registration fee, and that was in addition to whatever their podiatry treatment cost was. There was a few people at the start that were like, oh, I didn't realise that's what that meant, because it stated it in the emails that they got when they booked online, but a lot of people don't read the emails, so they were missing it. So I just put it at every place possible. They get a text message about it. It displays when they book the appointment. It's in all their emails, and it's right at the start of the website as well at the pricing structure. So hopefully they'll read it. We opened the clinic. I got the keys a year ago, almost exactly a year ago, and we opened last April. And the clinic, La Prem, I wanted it to be different from everything else because I think that healthcare can be a little bit outdated. Boring. And I've got a little bit of the kind of white coat syndrome. I find myself sometimes when I'm sitting in that plain white room looking at the Fusty magazines in front of me, and I start to get a bit anxious before I go in and see the GP. So I didn't want the same thing with La Prem. Plus, I work all the time, so when I go and get my hair done, I like to go and have a bit of an experience. I enjoy the head massage. I enjoy the fancy cup of coffee. I enjoy that they're only dealing with me and they're not dealing with 20 other people at the one time. I'm sure they are, but I don't feel like that when I'm there. So that's why when I wanted Leprime, I thought I'd like it to be a bit more of an experience, so that you could get your gran a gift voucher for Christmas and not be like, oh, it's just to get your feet done. It's something a bit more exciting than just a trip to your normal podiatry clinic.
Yeah, and your website reflects that. When I went to your website, and I think that's how I came across your name initially, might have been on LinkedIn. I think it was on LinkedIn, and there was something about you had the business name down. I went, huh, that's a different sort of business name. So then I went and clicked on it. And then when I had a look through the website, I went, oh, well, I've got to get you to come on here and talk about that. So to ask you a couple of questions, what was the thinking behind, so you've done this home visit, you've got this podiatry business, which is home visits. What made you click the thing, oh, now I want to have brick and mortar business, and then I want to make it different? What was the thinking behind that?
I got a business mentor because I felt I was stuck in a bit of a rut with the step ahead. We were very busy, but I wasn't making much money. It was just the same things I was doing. It was getting a bit boring, and I just felt I couldn't continue stuck in that kind of rut. So I had been on a course, Work Smarter, Not Harder.
Oh, Jonathan Small.
Yeah, and I found it really interesting, but you're listening to him talking about how you just put your fees up, and you're thinking, I can't do that, not in Glasgow, my goodness, they'll all run. So the pandemic hit a few months later, and I started looking at my fees and my figures, and I thought, oh my goodness, like, how can I make money doing what I'm doing just now? So I sent Jonathan an email saying, hi, not sure if you would be interested. I've got a little mobile service, but it's not doing a lot, and I'd like to potentially open a clinic. And he got back to me, and that was about 1.5 years ago. So I've been working with Jonathan since then, he's pushed me at every step of the way, because there's been millions of things that could go wrong with opening the clinic.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, it's been a nightmare. And he has had so many phone calls like, oh my God, I can't go on anymore. This is dreadful. Why did I do this? Probably having the help from him is what pushed me into it, because we put my fees up right away with the step ahead. I couldn't continue when we were about to open back up because I had to reduce all my numbers. So I went from about 50 house visits a week down to about 21. Something had to change or it wouldn't work.
But in relation to the fees, it's the same thing. When every coaching client that I work with one-on-one, there's these certain fees that they have, and I'll go, see that one right there? Add $40 to that one. I went, oh, I couldn't do that. I said, trust me, just add $40 onto it. So they'll do it, and then they'll report back 2 weeks later. And I say, how many patients do you have that came in for that service? And they go, oh, about 10. And I go, right, so you just made an extra. Did anyone complain? They go, not one complaint. They go, so you just made an extra $400. And you work out in a month, and with changing some of their other fees, my goal is that what they're paying me as a coach, they get back almost in the first month just by tweaking their fees. So therefore, like I said, I then come for free because it's not costing you anything anymore. So really looking at your fees and which areas that some people just don't charge enough in certain spots. It's really obvious.
Well, we charge quite a bit now for a house visit in comparison to everyone around us. And then the clinic's a bit more expensive again.
So you've got Leprime clinic set up. So a step ahead podiatry, is that sort of within your main clinic, or is it, well, I suppose at home visit clinic, there is no location, is there? It's just a website.
Completely separate. Yep, completely separate. Everything about it, I don't discuss it with. If somebody phones me looking for an appointment and I can't fit them in with a step ahead, I don't offer Leprime. The prices are very, very different. So, and they're different areas as well. So there may be about a half an hour drive apart, which for us in the UK is quite a big drive. I know for you that's probably nothing, but for us that's quite a yeah. So it's two separate businesses. Some of my long-standing A Step Ahead patients know about the clinic, but not everybody. I didn't want them thinking that I put their prices up to pay for the clinic.
Did the phone calls that come through all through the same place though?
Well, yes, it's so I have a virtual reception company. That take all the calls, but it's set up as two separate companies, so they've got a different conversation starter with each of them, and two separate bills for it. And in the clinic, I have a receptionist as well. She works part-time, so she takes some calls, I take some calls. The problem with the mobile service, A Step Ahead, is that whenever patients get a phone call from us, they just always think it's going to be me. And when it's not me, they get a bit thrown. So that's how I'm saying it's not a business now, because they just need me. But no, it's good. It's good. And I think it's quite nice to have it separate, because I can do different things with one of them than what I can do with the other one. So
well, the other part too, if you choose to let one go, and it wouldn't be the La Prem clinic, if you decided I don't want to do home visits anymore, you can let that business go, and it has no reflection at all on your main business. Like, I know my clinic in Cairns, when we have Podiatry, in the early days we did do a lot of home visits, and then all of a sudden we just decided we're not doing them anymore, and we told the patients we weren't doing. But then feedback got through to certain doctors and other people that, Podiatry is no longer doing home visits, and some of them got the shits with us. Whereas I like how you kept that separate. So anyone listening to this, if they do have a home visit business and they decide to set up a brick and mortar business, I like that you didn't necessarily call it the same name, just kept it different.
Yeah, it's good. The only downside to it is it's like starting again. So I don't have the same reputation. You don't have all your 5-star Google reviews anymore. So you're like starting from the start again, but it's very exciting at the same time, because you fix the things you done wrong the first time, and you develop more. There was much more free reign with setting up a clinic than there was doing the mobile service.
I think the benefits, but I think the benefits far outweigh the, like you do. If you've got a great reputation, you set up a brick and mortar business, that reputation is going to come with you. But you also know, and I know every business that I had when I opened up a new one, it was better. Each time I did it, it was better, because I learnt from the other one. And even if I set one up tomorrow, what I've learnt over the last 30 years would be better than anything I did 5 years ago. So, and then also all the referrers that you were getting, you telling them, hey, I've got this new clinic and it's different. All of a sudden, prick their ears up a little bit as well.
Yeah. Occasionally, if I get somebody looking for nail surgery they've maybe contacted A Step Ahead, I'll say, no, we don't offer it as a house visit service, but we've got a sister clinic in the city centre. If you wanted to come, you could have your surgery done there.
You don't have two phones. You could have one phone where you answer and go, you should call this other clinic. They are awesome. You hang up the phone, the other phone rings, you then pick it up and go, hello. And
I might do that the next time.
Yeah, just refer them on.
Funny. Yeah. I just keep them quite separate, and it seems to work quite well having them separated. There's different types of customers or clients, patients that come into the two of them anyway. A Step Ahead is generally just older patients that wouldn't really be able to come in, and the clinic has got 8 steps at the front, so if they're not mobile, they can't they're not getting in. I'm not carrying anybody up.
I have known podiatrists that have set up, they've had a clinic, say ground floor, and then they've moved the clinic up to steps deliberately to limit certain patients coming in. And I've seen other people do that, not thinking that they weren't doing it deliberately, but they just did it, and they probably shouldn't have. So with La Prem Clinic, what type of patients are you getting through? Like, have you noticed, because your clinic looks higher end and it sounds higher end, are you getting a posher patient coming through?
I'm probably getting a lot of medical patients coming in, and it was quite funny actually, because one of the first patients I had in was a high up oncology consultant, and I couldn't remember the name of the big toe. I couldn't remember hallux, and I was trying to, because for a step ahead, it's a lot of older people, so I have to like say, oh, your big toes, it's all red, and there's, so when I was trying, I couldn't for the life of me think of hallux. And I was like, yeah, so in this area here, or your medial, wherever we were talking about. And eventually it came to me about 5 minutes later, and I was like, your hallux, it's your hallux, your first hallux. Yeah, that's what it is. And it just made me think that I'm so out of the way of properly speaking like a podiatrist. As much as I write it in my notes are all proper terminology, but speaking to people sometimes you forget and you dumb it down a little bit. So
yeah,
that
and
was
I don't think there's anything wrong with it though. Like I just assumed even if I had a doctor that was there as a patient, I treated them just like I treat any other patient, and I just spoke to them, big toe, ankle joint. Yeah, I never went into any form of detail, because sometimes we just assume people are smarter than what they are. So if you just because especially like some GPs and doctors and that, when it comes to the foot, don't know too much at all. They really don't know anything. And all of a sudden we're trying to talk to them like, oh, they understand. And one of the biggest complaints, because we do a survey to all our professional referrers each year, and one of the questions would be, do you find the reports that come through from the podiatrists easy to understand? And the biggest complaint we ever got was new podiatrists writing in podiatry jargon, and they did not understand what they were talking about. They said, and the reports were too long. They said, we don't need a short novel. Just tell us what you did. We know they had a knee problem. That's why we sent them to you. Just tell us, did you make orthotics or not? Don't need to know your diet, everything about what the biomechanically about the foot. Just give us the facts. And when we started doing that, we got more referrals, because I was sick of getting all this crap.
I think that patient, she was one of my first ones that came in the door, and I was so nervous. It was like going back to the very start when I first graduated. I think because I'd been out of a clinic environment for a good 2-3 years, so when it came to thinking like that again, I would forget to bring the moisturizer in, and I would forget the instruments and things. So it took maybe a good 4 weeks or so for me to kind of calm down and settle a little bit, and then start to relax, and then the names come back whenever you need them. But no, that lady just threw me. She had done her homework, and she put me to the test. And it was tough going, but now it's a lot more relaxed, and you're in the way of things now, so it's totally fine. But
where do you see the clinic going in the next few years? What are your big grand plans in the world of podiatry?
So I'm the plan was to niche it quite a bit into the bridal market.
Did you say bridal market?
Yeah.
Like people getting married. Okay.
Yeah. So I do dermal fillers, and I'm doing the independent prescribing course. That's been held up a little bit just now.
Where did you do the fillers course? Where did you learn to do the dermal fillers?
So it's a company called Curicorn. No, they're not called Curicorn. It's Lipology, and the product is Curicorn. And they're down south. They're down in a place called Wigan. The woman that does it, she was a podiatrist. Her name's Kath, and she's now went into the aesthetic industry. But she's quite a whiz.
Does it hurt getting that done for the patient? Like sticking that filler in doesn't look pleasant.
No, I've had it done. So I get corns in my feet. So one foot's got filler and one hasn't. So I can see what the difference and how long it lasts are.
And doesn't hurt getting jabbed in.
No. We put a tiny bit as anaesthetic as where your needle would go, and depending where it is, you can use the cannula. So the cannula is actually much better than using a normal needle. But no, it's fine. You wouldn't put too much in, so that you maybe put your appointment over 2 or 3 appointments, so that you're not just dumping too much in at one time, so it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes it a better experience for the patient to deliver it over 2 or 3 sessions instead of that one. But it's great, and once it's there, I've had mine in my foot for about a year and a half, and I've not had any problems with my corns since. So
I can see that being, I know in America that is huge. There's a lot more podiatrists over there that are doing these fillers in feet, and they charge really well for it too. They make really good money. But I've watched the videos and I just cringe.
Yeah, because it goes into the plantar part as well, so you think it's going to be really sore, but no, it's actually all right. But that's the plan. Get into brides when they all start their weddings again and offer them, because the filler can be used to obviously help cushion the feet as well. And the Botox stops the sweating, so that's your ideal foot conditions in a shoe, so that your foot doesn't move anywhere. So ideally it will keep us in our uncomfortable shoes for slightly longer, which is perfect for special occasions. So
okay, so at the moment you've got any other podiatrists working with you, or you're just by yourself?
No, I had a girl helping with the house visits, but she's taking some time off of it just now, so it's just me and the receptionist at present. So,
but the plan is to grow it. Do you see yourself having multiple Le Prem clinics around Scotland and the UK, or is your plan always, no, I don't want to rule the world?
No, I don't want to rule the world. I definitely don't want to rule the world. That'll come with too much work and effort. I think I would like to get the clinic. It's a 3-room clinic, so there's plenty of room for other people, but I think I would like other services and not just only podiatry. So we might get an FHP in, but it would be nice if we could get like a private doctor in, or somebody that does facial aesthetics and things. That's quite popular over here.
Well, that's the good part with your, what I liked about your business name is the Le Prem Clinic doesn't specifically say it has to be podiatry. Le Prem Clinic is podiatry services there, but you could bring in a physiotherapist, you could bring in a chiropractor, a doctor, you could bring in anything that could be part of that Le Prem Clinic. So it's it's the name that caught my eye, that made me think, wow, this could be used in so many different ways.
Yeah, that's what we try to do. Feet's not the most sexiest thing that sells. And when I done A Step Ahead, there was a lot of other businesses that came out with similar sounding company names, which got a bit confusing. So with Le Prem, we wanted something that wasn't so easy to recreate, but as well as that, didn't have feet in the title, so that if we did want to have other services in, it might not put them off, because they might not want to set up their business in something that's called like Welsh's Podiatry Clinic or something like that. Whereas Le Prem sounds a bit different, so, and it doesn't kind of rule anybody else out.
Yeah, so it's like, I don't know if you listened to episode 182 with Gemma Hodgson, and it was called The Foot Lab, and her business is called The Foot Lab. Yeah. And it was that name that caught my attention to want to talk to her about what the thinking was behind The Foot Lab. So, and to me, these are the sort of names that are standing out. And also her clinic is the slightly upper market as well. And you can just tell by the website, and you can tell by the furnishings and the way the clinic is designed, she's targeting a certain market, and you're doing exactly the same thing. Whereas a lot of the other clinics, all the names sound like you said, very similar, or some of them, they're just a bit odd. Not odd, but not odd in a good way. They're just odd.
Yeah. There's a few different ones up here.
I'm sure there is. So before we finish, have you got any parting words? Do you have a final tip for anybody that is listening to this, that you want to, could be a new graduate who's about to start working for themselves, or could be someone who's a little bit stale and they just need that little bit of inspiration from you. What is your final tip?
My final tip, probably the one that's been best for me when it's been really tough in the clinic. I envisaged what my dream clinic was going to be and what we would offer, and no money or anything restrictions with it, and it's all on pieces of paper. So whenever things are really tough, I get the dream clinic out and I remember where it was we were going, or if I get a bit carried away in a direction, if I get what my goal was and look at what my goals are, and I think, right, yeah, I don't need a Swift machine right now, I can hold off another couple of years for that. So yeah, I think work out where you might like to go and then start putting the process together to get there, because it can be quite a while to get there. So yeah, have a plan and roll with it.
I think that is a fantastic final tip. Think about your dream clinic. I did the same thing whenever I was setting up my businesses. I was always picturing way ahead. This is what I'd love it to actually look like. And I also say to coaching clients, look at your patient base now and always give a little bit of mental energy towards what do you think they may need in the next 12 months, 2 years, 5 years? And are you planning and preparing your clinic in that direction? And if not, do you mind if those patients go somewhere else to get that service? Will they come back when they get that service? So to me, you're always going to be future thinking. So I like that, setting up, think about your dream clinic. So Laura, I want to thank you for coming on the Podiatry Legends podcast, sharing part of your story, telling us about your clinics, and telling us about that final tip. I loved it.
Oh, great. Thanks very much.